everybody, and welcome to episode 25 of All About African Violets. All About African Violets is musically sponsored by Ted Yoder. You can hear his great music and purchase it if you choose to on his website at tedyoder.com. It's also available from iTunes. Hi everybody, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to my sunroom. I'm back in the sunroom this week, but I'm in a slightly different spot. I thought, maybe you'd like to see the Christmas tree behind me today. My little tree, that was actually my mom's tree. It came pre-decorated and pre-lit, and she used to just, pull it out of the box and plug it in, and there it was all ready to go. So I still like to have it. I didn't put up a big tree this year. I just did the little one. So, gosh, what a week. What a week. Before we really start, I would just like to say that my heart goes out to everyone who was affected by the massacre at the school in Sandy Hook in Connecticut yesterday. It just is. I really have no words. It's just such a horrible, horrible thing, and my heart really goes out to everyone who may have been affected by this, and I am holding you all in my thoughts and my prayers. Today I am going to try to answer some questions for you guys. I got a lot of interesting questions after last week's episode about potting up babies, and I've had an interesting plant week as well. So let's move right on into tips and treasures. And let me get my glasses. I wrote this down. The thing I got most this week from a number of sources was the question of why are you throwing everything away? Why don't you save it? And why don't you pot up all those babies and then you could give them to other people? And those are really valid questions. And I know I said at the time, I said, okay, I know some of you are freaking out that I'm not potting all of these babies. But in truth, I really just do not have the time or the space to take care of that many plants. I think you'll see today when we take a look at the stands, that just the plants now that I've potted up that are in the tray, they're uncovered now, but they're ready to be put in their own individual saucers. Well, once that happens, they're going to take up quite a bit more space than they take up now. And my days are full. I have a busy job and I'm away from home, a lot during the day for work. And I have a lot of other interests. As you guys know, I think I do a lot of different things. I truly do not have the time to take care of that many plantlets and grow them on to a place where they would be ready to donate or sell or give away. It's just not possible for me. I learned this the hard way many years ago when I first started growing. At one point, I had more than 100 varieties. And you all know what happened to me last year when I had ramped up to, 120 maybe varieties at the most that I had. And then I lost everything because we're back to limit your collection. When I don't limit my collection, bad things happen. No one is happy. I'm not happy. The plants are happy. No one's happy. So I really did learn the hard way that, I just don't have the wherewithal to do that. So I hope that answers your questions, you guys who asked me about that. It's just not, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. If you have the time and the space to do that, I think it's wonderful. And it's great. And another piece of that is that I prefer to deal with leaves when things are coming and going from my collection. I really do, rather than a plant. Leaves just are a better, safer way to go. So anyway, I did have some other questions. Daniel Hi, Daniel. Daniel said, after potting up your leaves, what kind of schedule for watering do you put them on, or do you just seal them up and not water them for weeks on end? He says, I put down 20 leaves about 10 weeks ago, and mine don't look anything like yours. I've had to fight powdery mildew and crown rot. I think I must have overwatered them. And then a new viewer, Joy. Hi, Joy. She's from Malaysia. She said, I have a question about using the dome after putting down a leaf. How often, if at all, do you water the leaves in the dome? Well, I'm always very curious about this, as various sites suggest barely moist soil if using a dome, but I notice you water very well and yet don't have problems. I just lost my spot. Hang on. Oh, there we go. And yet don't have problems with rotting leaves. We have very high humidity in Malaysia, so I think I said that wrong. It's Malaysia. Sorry. So I generally use barely moist medium under a dome and always worry if the soil is drying out too much for the leaves. Well, these are both really good questions. I think I must do this instinctually. Once I put the leaves, when I put a leaf down and I water it in with the squirt bottle till the water comes out the bottom, I put it right in the tray. And that water that has come out the bottom of each leaves that I put in the domed tray, that creates first of all, the soil then for each plant or leaf, I should say, is wet already because I've watered it in. And then the excess water has dropped down and come out the bottom. Well, once you put that dome on, you create this little microclimate in there, and it's sort of, it's scientific, so we should really ask Joyce about it, but it seems to me that the plants generate some heat while they're growing. The energy that they are giving off as they're growing turns into heat, and the water, there's transpiration that's going, so the plants suck up the water, and then it transpires through their leaves. Well, it gets warm in that dome, which creates condensation on the dome, which then falls down the sides, and then so that water gets used and used and used again. And what I do is I watch the dome. I watch the condensation on the dome. I do open it up to check. Obviously, I open it up at least once a week for you guys to see it. And when I do that, I look to see if any of the pots, if the soil looks particularly dry. And if it does, then I will add water. Sometimes if the actual soil in a couple of pots, like in one area, sometimes those trays aren't as even as you might like. And if one area looks much more dry than the others, I will do a little top watering on those plants. And then I will just add some more water to the tray in general, and then put the dome back on and let it keep going. And that's really what I don't do too much I have occasionally lost a leaf that just rots away. Sometimes that happens. And unfortunately, I have some sad things to show you on the stands today when we get there, because I must have done something wonky, either didn't water in time and then overwatered, which is probably the most likely scenario for what happened. So you'll see that in a little bit. But I hope that answers your question, both Daniel and Joy. I hope that helps. I kind of do it by how it feels and how it looks. Sometimes you'll get algae on the top of the pots because it is very moist under the dome, but algae doesn't hurt anything. So just kind of watch. If you are having trouble with things rotting away, then yes, probably you need to have a lighter hand with the water. The other thing that I think I need to make clear, because I've also had questions about it this week, is even when I put a leaf down, I use that same modified Texas style of potting. So there's a wick in every one of those little cups, and there's a layer of coarse perlite, and then there's potting mix that the leaf is in. So nothing's ever actually sitting in water. The dirt, the potting mix is never sitting in the water. the wicks are in the water in the tray, and they suck that up into the plants as they need it. So that could have a difference as well. And Joy also asked another question about why do I use the wick? Why don't I just, why don't I do the actual Texas style and drill the holes in the sides of the pot? Why do I do a modified style? Well, quite truthfully, Joy, I didn't want to have to drill holes in a bunch of my pots. I didn't want to have to. I wouldn't drill them. I would use my solder gun. I would heat it up and then just poke them all the way around with the solder gun. I didn't want to damage the pots because I reuse them all the time, and sometimes I need one for, for a slip pot to slip over a pot when it goes to show. I felt it was easier to not drill the holes. And when I was really learning, was when I lived in Ventura in Southern California, or when I was a member of Ventura. I didn't live in Ventura. And that's how my mentors and teachers there taught me. That was the style that they used, and so that's the style that I use. As you can tell, there are plenty of different ways to try things and to do things. So my way is not necessarily the best way. It's the best way for me. It works well for me in my growing conditions, but it might not be the best for you. So it never hurts to try multiple ways to maybe try the Texas style, maybe try modified Texas style, try one with a wick, try one without a wick. See what works best for you, and read the books that the books that I've mentioned to you guys before. They have all great info. Pauline's book and Joyce and Kent's book, both excellent, and I'll link to those in the show notes for you today again. Well, now, as promised, last week, when I was filming all of the repotting that I was doing, it was so long when I put it all together that I split it up into two. So this week, you're going to see me repot an existing plant. It's Western Moon, and it's done really well, and I've potted it onto the next size pot, and you're going to see how I do that. It's not hard to do. Unfortunately, I must have deleted one last piece of the footage that I took because I thought I had it all together, but somehow I only have two pieces of it, so it ends rather abruptly. I'm very sorry about that. But you will see Western Moon again in the look at what's on the stands. So let's go take a look at potting up a plant, and I will see you in just a moment. Hi, you guys. Forgive the mess that's here on the potting bench. You're not seeing this. Well, you're seeing it a week after. 2 weeks after, actually. It's still December 2nd. I'm downstairs in my basement, and I have continued on from potting up, separating the babies, and now I'm going to pot a plant onto the next larger pot. This is Western Moon. You guys have been watching it all year long, and it really is looking kind of crazy. It's in a 3-inch pot. You can see now that it's much larger than that. It is ready to be potted on, and as I'm looking at it, I don't know if you can tell, but there are some little buds in here, and so I am going to remove those. I don't want it to bloom. I want all of its energy to go into making more leaves, and it has one little off-size leaf. I don't know if you can tell, this is a little leaf. It's like twisty, and it's in the wrong spot. Well, that is just gonna go. I'm gonna remove it right now. I'm not sure how that happened, but there it is. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to take off a row of leaves. Now we are going to have a gap here where I took that wonky leaf, but it's going to be okay in the long run. It will grow to fill that in. And I know you're going, why are you doing this? Well, this plant is really ready there's the hole, to be potted on to the next size pot. The last time this was potted was in June 11th. So now I do what I normally do. I'm just going to give a little squeeze to this pot, and then I gently take a hold of this and it'll come right out. And this pot is broken and cracked. Now I'm not going to wash this and keep it. It's served its useful life. I have leaves, but I don't need to put these down because I do have a good plant already here of Western Moon. So now, put this under here again. So you can see that I had coarse perlite in the bottom. Here's the wick that was in there. And the roots have filled in all the way down here. So I'm teasing, I don't know how else to say it, but kind of gently, we're pulling all that perlite off. And you see that this is really not a very deep root ball. I mean, this is all the more it is. And now, all right, so I've got all the perlite off and the wick is off. Now I'm going to gently kind of remove some of the soil from around the root ball as well, just kind of moving that off. And then I'm taking a good look at the neck of the plant and where I have removed leaves, and I'm going to make sure that I've gotten everything off. And actually, aha, I don't know if, can you guys see that? Little baby sucker. I just pulled that off down at the bottom of the neck. So there's that one leaf that was growing really strangely. There was a little stem left. Oh, another little sucker leaf. You guys, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there it is. So we don't want that. So now I've got this little bitty neck, not much, but enough so that I want to take a little bit, because I've also taken a row of leaves off of this plant. It doesn't need all the roots that it currently has here in the root ball. I'm going to use my X-Acto knife very carefully, and I've got about this much space, a little over 1/4 of an inch or so between the leaves and the neck. So I'm going to take off, and I'm just going to use this to slice it. And normally I would set this down, but I know you're seeing it upside down. Let me try to, here we go. And be very careful that I don't cut my hand. But I'm just sort of slicing through here with the X-Acto knife and removing some. Now I've got a little stem here, my original stem. I need to make a sharp, fresh cut. So what I do is I take this toward the edge of my potting bench and just lay it there. And I've made a little fresh cut. You see it in there? It's right there. A little green. So I'm just doing a little bit more off of here. Okay, so here we go. Try to get that to be as even as I can. This plant is now going to move up to a 4-inch pot. It was in a 3-inch pot. So I'm just going to set it here. And I have a pot prepared for it. I use it's a Brother label maker. I find it to be really easy, and I just put the date, 12/2, and the name of the plant, and put that on here. Now I'm going to put a wick through the bottom, lay it along the bottom, like that, and then coarse perlite. These holes are big on this pot, so some of the perlite is liable to fall off. That's out the bottom. That's okay. This is pretty fat perlite. So, oops, yikes. And then I can lay my wick right over the top of the perlite, and now I'm going to put a layer of potting mix along the bottom. Okay. Just just enough to cover that. And then I'm going to take my plant and I'm going to set it in here. Well, you see, it's really in there. That means it's too far down. We don't want it to be down in the pot so that the leaves get crunched up. So it means I need a little more dirt down there. So let's build that up a little bit. And I'm not pushing it down, I'm just adding some more soil. Now we'll set it there. It's still pretty low. Let's pick it up a little bit more. Okay. Okay, that's starting to look a little better. We're getting close. One more layer. Okay, I'm liking how that's looking. See, it's there. The edge is here, so nothing is going to be, it has the opportunity to lay flat and to grow the way it should grow. It's not sunk down into the pot where it would force the leaves to be pushing up. So now it's sitting here, and now, let me throw this part out, it's old. Now what we do is, because I did cut plant material with this X-Acto knife, it goes in the soapy water, and I'm gonna wipe it off. And you really do have to be careful with an X-Acto knife. I know I keep saying that. You also do need to dry it because it will rust if you don't. So anyway, so here we are. I still have my same Ziploc bag. And my spoon. So I'm going to move this over a little bit, and I will adjust the angle of the camera so you can see this better, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've shifted us over here a little bit more. Now, this is one of the reasons I use a small spoon, because now I need to fill in the dirt on this pot. And this, I know it's hard to see because you're seeing the leaves. I'm trying to turn it a little so you can see me just putting that in underneath the leaves on this side and shifting it a little bit around. Now I will turn this, try to tilt it again so you can see it, and then fill in on this side. Okay. So everything's in there. It's relatively loose. The soil, I mean, you saw me just put it in. A little bit dirty. Use my finger to brush this off a bit. Once this is established in the pot, I will, of course, give it a good grooming. Now, we've got that big gap. It's right here. This is where that wonky leaf was, but it is my hope that this will fill in. If it doesn't fill in well, I will then take this next row of leaves. But for now, it just needs the opportunity to grow. So just as I do when I split a baby plant from a mama leaf, now I'm going to water this in using my squirt bottle. And again, I will water it till it comes out the bottom. And actually, let me get a saucer ready. So there's my, whoops, sorry. See, there's my wick coming out the bottom, and I'm going to just set it in its little 4-ounce saucer, and now I will keep watering this in. And you can sometimes get some of the water off the peduncles of the existing leaves using your squirt bottle. I've taken care to make sure that this was centered in the pot. And it doesn't really look centered because of that gap, but it is. Because the middle of the plant, the crown of the plant, right here, remember we talked about what a crown was months ago, right here, that is in the center of the pot. So still watering it in, nothing coming out the bottom yet. And I'm turning it as I go so that I moisten all the soil. So nothing's reaching to get a drink, it's just here. And we should be getting close to having this come out the bottom. Well, what did you think? Bang, that just stopped like that. I'm sorry. But I hope you got a good idea, and I know some of that was hard to see. I kept trying to turn the plant so that you could see what I was doing, and I know the angle wasn't ideal. So I'm certainly open to doing that again if you guys would like to see some more repotting, you know, in a few months down the line, when I have some more things to be able to repot. I'm happy to do that again, so just let me know if that's something you're interested in. Well, we're going to take a look at what's on the stands, and I noticed something was wonky on the shelf in the guest room, and I thought, what's that? Well, take a look. Well, here we are in the guest room, and here is Blueberry Sprite. Looking good. But here's something I noticed. All right, I'm trying to make sure that that's in focus for you. See that leaf, that dead leaf? Well, remember when I said I'm really not a mini and semi grower? Yeah, not so much. That's little Inca girl, and this is Rob's Antique Rose, and these guys just gave it up this week. You know, I've had this happen to me before, only with minis and semis. This never happens to me with a standard. So I don't know. These all got repotted, and here's little Creek girl looking fine. So I do not know what happened, but stuff happens from time to time. I may have trimmed these, you know, I may have taken too many leaves off. I may have damaged something on the neck of the plant when I was repotting. I might have let them dry out and not cared for them, given them good consistent care. It could have been anything this week, you know, it's the week really right before Christmas here. Anyway, I'm sorry to show that to you, but there it is. So, but here's Western Moon, who also got repotted. And I know that the stuff that you saw, the footage that I did not, it ended very abruptly. So here's the gap. But you can see this leaf already moving over here to fill that gap. And of course, eventually this leaf will go, and I'll take some more off of there. But just wanted to show you, this doesn't happen to me with standard. It only happens with minis and semis. So let's go take a look downstairs. Well, here are the trailers and Pink Pussycat. Everybody looking just fine. This tray looking great. Everyone's growing. I've got a Rob's Wagga Wagga down there at the end, getting ready to bloom. I want it to bloom. I want to see what the blossom looks like. This is the trail of the plantlets that I potted up last week. And of course some that were ready from the box of joy up there. Everything's growing. As you can see, I've taken the lid off. And these guys are feeling a little, my finger in there, they're feeling a little dry. So some of them are. So I'm gonna pop some water in here. And actually it's probably about time to put these all in their own saucer. And here is the domed tray from the back today. And first of all, you can see that there is some condensation along the sides. So there is water in the tray, as we talked about earlier. But it's far more wet in here than out here. So this is just kind of part of creating that atmosphere. I don't know if you can see, but there's no There's no standing water in here right now. When I put everything in, as I mentioned, I give it a good drink, and then that just kind of it goes around. The condensation forms, it drops back down. Everything stays quite a bit warmer in there because of the dome and what's going on with the growing. The energy that the plants are expending to grow creates heat. It's kind of scientific. We'll have to ask Joyce more about it. But if things look dry, I just put some water in the bottom of the tray, and then I will often kind of pick it up like this and let the water, get down all the way to one end and all the way back, and then let it keep growing. Let's go take a look over on the baby stand. All right, I call this the baby stand, not because there are babies here, but because it's teeny weeny. This was my very first potting, my very first stand. Sorry, I had that cable in the way again. Here are the Smithiantha cinnabarina, hopefully, but still, again, the leaves are not deepening up the way I was hoping they would. We will see, I guess, how they do. Some of the blossoms are starting to fade on these, but they've been holding pretty steady for quite some time. And here's my little Apicia. It bloomed this week. Sometimes, excuse me, sometimes the foliage on the Apicia is prettier than the blossom itself, but so I'd like to see that one. Let's head upstairs. Well, here we are upstairs in the sunroom again, and you guys, these are all the standards that got repotted at the same time as those semis. So I don't know what to say, but I have had that happen to me before. So if any of you are expert mini and semi growers, let me know what your thoughts are. Here's the Gesneriid shelf. Columnia, Escananthus. This is my Petrocosmia carrii. Just needs a good turn. It's looking pretty good still. And we got a Streptocarpus. Here, let's walk around. Streptocarpus here. And here's Moonlit Velvet. It fell over. I have this blossom, I gotta tell you, I mean, it's huge. Look, you can see my hand. It's the size of all the fingers on my hand. I mean, it's a gigantic blossom. And in fact, I think it maybe just was too heavy. And it fell over, and there's not a lot of foliage yet on this plant. There will be, it's growing really well, but not a lot yet to hold it, to maybe be around it and kind of hold it up. So, but there it is, but it's sure beautiful. Okay, we'll take one last look at the big box violet. Here's the big box violet. I did a little bit of grooming. I took some leaves off and put it back here, put it back in the conservatory stand. I am considering, I have glued I've glued this plexiglass before. As you can see, it's not, real stable. And I've got all the pieces for the lid, and I am going to try to glue it again and see if I can do that. That would make this a little more functional for some other plants maybe to put in here. All right, well, that's the look at the stands for this week. I'll be right back. Violet death. I mean, dead. Those guys they just, that was it. And what I really think, this was a very busy week for me. And they were established plants though, as I looked at them again, I thought, well, maybe I took too many leaves off, but I don't think I did. And you guys, I just got the battery signal, so I'll be right back. Hang on. Okay, sorry about that. I just got it's got this little blinky thing with the battery, and I'm like, how can the battery be done? I thought I changed it right before we started, but obviously I didn't. Or either that or I grabbed one that wasn't all the way charged up. Anyway, I was talking about the plants that died this week, and I mean, they died. You saw them. They are shriveled up and they look horrible. So this only ever happens to me with minis and semis. I have never had this happen with a standard. I don't know what it is, if I'm heavy-handed with them, but I do consider myself a standard grower. You've heard me say that before. I usually can grow a semi, and those were growing until this week. but they just croaked. I mean, croaked. I started to tell you what I really do think happened is I probably let them go a day or two too long, and they really dried out. And then I gave them a drink, and it must have been too big a drink. And this is a very common thing to think, oh, I better give them a big drink of water. I may have been too heavy-handed with the watering because they just collapsed. So they've gone to their great reward, and it's all right. I have plenty of other plants. This is part of the journey of being a grower. Sometimes things happen. But if any of you are expert mini and semi-growers and you've seen this before, I would love to hear from you if you'd like to leave a comment on the website and give me some feedback about that. Love to have it. So it's time to get the bail money ready. But there is no place for bail. But you know what? It's almost Christmas. So in the spirit of Christmas, I'm going to give away a signed copy, an autographed copy of Joyce and Kent Stork's book, You Can Grow African Violets. Everyone is eligible to enter for the drawing, and the way you need to enter is leave one comment, only one comment on the website. All right, because I will compile those. So please, if you leave more than one comment, as I know that sometimes happens, you can only enter one time. But everyone can enter, even if you do not live in the United States. I can send this internationally, and if you would leave me a comment and tell me what are one or two of the things that you most enjoy about the podcast, then you will be entered for the drawing for the book, and I will do that next week. So leave your comments leave your comments by next Friday night, okay? And someone will have, it'll be a little after Christmas by the time you get it, but it'll be a little Christmas gift, and I hope you will enjoy it because it is an awesome, awesome book. So get the bail money ready. Put your name in. Get a book. I hope a lot of you will put your names in. It'd be great to leave a comment. Well, it's time to keep moving forward. And when I say keep moving forward, I know I say that every week, but it's something I believe in very strongly, that we all have to keep moving forward in our lives, that we don't get stuck and hold on to the past. And I have something I want to share with you. If you've been watching the podcast from the beginning, you'll know that earlier this year I had hoped to, I was fostering and had hoped to adopt a special needs dog named Jupiter. He was a small St. Bernard, if there is such a thing, and he was an amazing and wonderful dog. And unfortunately, I knew rather quickly that it was not going to be best for him to stay with me. He really needed to be with a family and with more people, more than just one person. But I just adored him, and he adored me. But I know now that he is with a family, and they have a child, they have another giant breed dog, and he's happy and loved. And that just makes me really happy. But this week, the week before last, if you're anywhere in the Chicagoland area, you may have heard that there was a dog fighting ring that was broken up in the south suburbs of Chicago. And 7 of those dogs went to the shelter that is the shelter where Jupiter was, where I got Jupiter from. And when things didn't work out and I had to return Jupiter to the foster coordinator, I donated all the things that I had purchased for him, including a very, very large dog crate, because he was a very large dog. And I got, my heart was just broken when it was clear that, I was not going to be able to give him the care and love, love, no question. I could give him the love he needed, but not the care and the attention that he really, really needed. So, but my heart was really broken, and and that has stayed with me in the last few months. And I got an email a couple days ago, on Thursday actually, and I'd like to share it with you. I hope you guys will indulge me and let me share this with you. And the subject, it came from the foster coordinator, and the subject of her email was, "Your love for Jupiter is now helping Lorenzo." She says, "I just wanted to let you know that the crate you got for Jupiter is being put to good use. Lorenzo, the dog from the dogfighting case with the bad eye, one of the dog's eyes was so badly damaged that he had to have surgery and he lost his eye. She says the dog with the bad eye is using the crate to give him a quiet place to recover and enough room to move around in and be comfortable. I just thought you might want to know that your donations keep helping those in need. Have a Merry Christmas." So it just lifted my heart so much to know that that was happening. I'm a big believer in that everything happens for a reason, and I would never have had a great big dog crate had I never had Jupiter in my life, and had things not worked out, I would never have donated that crate back to the shelter, and Lorenzo wouldn't be having a quiet place to rest and recover. So it was a real Christmas gift for my spirit to receive that information, and that email was really wonderful to get this week, and it really helped me to keep moving forward. I did write a blog post about this on my personal blog, and I don't normally link to that in the show notes, but I will this time in case any of you might want to read a little bit more about that. So anyway, thank you for letting me share that with you. It was just such an amazing gift to get in an email this week. Well, it is time. We're moving forward. And if you have questions, I urge you to leave a comment for me on the website. Don't forget to leave a comment this week and tell me what it is a couple of things you are really enjoying, really like about the podcast, to be entered in the drawing for an autographed copy of You Can Grow African Violets. All About African Violets, as you know, is always available on the websites. On the website, it's also available from iTunes and also on Blip TV. Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming back every week. I hope your days are filled with all the things you love in this week before Christmas. Good growing. I'll see you next time.